call the meeting to order. Sorry for being a little bit late this morning, but we had a few things with the weather and all. I wanted to give people time to get here, and I'm sure there's a couple more people that told me they were coming, so I'm sure they'll still show up. So this morning, before we start, I just wanted to take a few moments. And if anybody wants to add in, please do. So I'm sure many of you are aware from the news. Last Thursday, we had a significant MCI event off of Route 84 here. And what I wanted to do was just really, is it often that pre-hospital people get recognition? No. So I think this is one of those times the pre-hospital providers deserve amazing recognition. Dave, it was like 48 minutes from start to finish, I'd say?
From the time the first ambulance arrived to the last patient departed was 48 minutes.
So that's pretty impressive. So
nearly 50 patients.
Yeah, a full, size tourist bus, if you know. The tire blew out, of course, on one of the elevated sections of 84 and went down into 40, 50 foot ravine. So, MCIs, we can practice, we can do table exercises, but, there were 29 units sent to that scene. And I don't know how many helicopters. Do you know, 4 or 5?
We're going to give that report
Okay,
from the
great.
helicopter committee.
Okay,
So
great. So I'd love to hear it.
piece.
Yeah, because it was an amazing effort, and I think that everyone needs to pat themselves on their back. The first guys who got there and set up the scene command and literally started the triage process. I know there was I received a complaint, 2 head injuries got, fractured skulls got triaged to a hospital that couldn't tolerate them. But come on, out of all those patients, to have those 2 little things, that, is pretty impressive. And so I just, I want to give recognition. And the other thing is, we need to make sure we take care of our providers. Certainly when some of them got on scene, some of the kids were ambulatory but missing a limb. And so it was pretty impactful for many of these guys. So I just want to make sure we reach out, we support them, we get them any kind of treatment or help they need, because it was a pretty impressive scene and just done so well. I think that everybody needs to understand that it was a fantastic effort. And I'll wait for helicopter committee report to fill in the air backup. But I think, that being said, I just want to express from the region how impressive it was and how proud we are of our fellow providers, because, it's a tough place to be. And that was, I was saying to David, I was driving 84 yesterday, and I was like, there's so many places that, you can see the side of the road. And yet this tire blew out, and I didn't know this. The front left tire of a bus is the tire that, controls the thing? I don't know that. So that's why the bus just went boom, because that's the driving wheel. And, there's so many places that are not like this 50-foot ravine that, why did it blow right there? Things happen in strange ways. But thank God these things don't happen often, and thank God so many of the passengers did well. We had 14 at our hospital, and all but 1 have been discharged, and she will be discharged soon. So, it's a thing where I think, kudos to everybody, and thank you all for just an amazing event. And really coming to the aid of, people in need. Okay. Any, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we should just do that piece
Sure.
now. So since we're talking about it, and it's really the sort of the main, we don't have too much else in the helicopter committee, so, why don't you guys who are ultimately involved, or intimately involved in this thing, give a report.
Absolutely. So with Orange County, we have a pretty robust auto standby policy. So when they identify certain trigger words or reported patient conditions, even before the first responder gets on scene, air comp is activated. So that way the flight crew can start going through, do the pre-flight checks, the weather checks, and get to that patient quickly. And fortunately that was the case here. So we had 3 aircraft respond directly to the scene, 2 of which were LifeNet units, and then we pulled a Beachblade through Atlantic Air out of New Jersey as well for the initial 3 transports. And then over the following hours that evening, we had 4 flight transports from the community hospitals and specialty centers. But the biggest takeaway from that, sort of like we mentioned earlier, the flight team can only do so much if it's not for robust ground care, right? If those patients weren't adequately or timely triaged, arranged, and moved to a place where the flight crew can access them, if that good BLS and ALS initial care isn't done, there's only so much we can do. So just want to share the flight crew's gratitude for that as well.
Yeah, I knew that they had set them up like right away, right on the freeway. So that was pretty amazing. And I think, they didn't have a lot of resources initially. If you look at the times of the dispatch, it was over those, it was like, 48 minutes for 29 units. Just even to free them up and to get them there and get them to the scene was just amazing. So, yeah, I think, it just shows how collaboration works. And I think, it's always tough because, everybody does their job and not always do you get a good round of approval and thanks, but it was amazing efforts. Okay, thank you. So, I am missing one person, so I know a couple more people are coming, so I'll hold on approving the minutes for right now because I know people are coming, and I'll start with parts of our agenda. Under old business, the Super Glottic Pilot Project is like flying, you guys. I don't know if you realize, how many is that, like 100?
We have over 850 people trained in it around the state. We have over 57 agencies or something like that that are actively doing it. And Pam Finnerty is the Ulster County EMS coordinator. She and I have been reaching out to every agency on a phone call. How's it going? How's it not going? These folks love this thing. These BLS providers are just out of their minds doing this. And they're really into the training. They're into something new. It's like a huge breath of fresh air.
It kind of reignited their interest in their, that's what I've been finding, their interest in their enthusiasm about being a provider.
Yeah, and they're doing other things, like they're loving the idea of capnography and what that means for them and all that jazz. So it's going along well. We're finding just from the data that there's about 3 times as many insertions as we have data on at the moment. That's okay because they're doing their own QA at their agencies, and that's wonderful. And we're working on getting the data. We've worked that out with the agencies to send us the PCRs, and we should start analyzing quite a bit of that stuff soon. We're really like maybe 6-7 months from the actual start of people doing it. So sort of good point to look at all that stuff.
But it's amazing how it ramped up. I mean, that's,
oh my God.
Yeah. So in the beginning, we had like about 20 providers, and we're like, okay, and then boom, it exploded. So we get these reports on this continuous basis. I'm like, my phone's blowing up with people getting trained in supraglottic airway insertion.
Yeah.
All right, we have official quorum. So I'd love to just ask for a vote on the minutes. The minutes were distributed in your packet from Karen, and they were very straightforward, succinct. I didn't see anything that needed corrections, additions, or deletions. Could I have a vote for approval of the minutes? Good. And second, thank you. In addition, today we're going to talk about Mark, I did a little brief, we did a little brief overview of the MCI on Thursday, just to thank everybody, because it was an impressive organizational and pre-hospital event that people did so well at. We spent a little bit of time doing that. Service upgrades today. Today we have Spring Hill Volunteer Ambulance Corps who submitted a full application for an ALS upgrade. They are located out of Spring Valley in Rockland County. And Brandon is here today to talk about or answer any questions everybody has. They submitted a full packet with all the required information, and that they, they have both a medical director in Dr. Kim, and they have a fully established, medical director participation agreement. Everything's in order. A lot of great support letters, a tremendous amount of, they have quite a few number of calls, and so really it would be another great addition to our area. So we're bringing this forward to move upon. They have letters in support from the mayor of Spring Valley. They have letters in support from the village of Sloatsburg, which is, right there. And one of their large, Freewald, which is a pretty large rehab and nursing center, also submitted a letter of support. In addition, the areas around medical directors and such. So I just wanted to bring it forward this morning because it's a completed application, and we'd love to, move this forward. As you know, the process of ALS upgrade has been clearly defined and shortened in what they need to do by our friends at New York State. So it's all in order. I would like to make a motion to approve an ALS upgrade for Spring Valley, unless anybody has questions, because the team is here to answer questions. If anybody has anything. I'm seeing no hands coming up. All right, I'll make a motion to approve. All those in favor? Beautiful. So passes. I'm just going to sign it now so that you know it's official and that you don't have to chase me afterwards. In addition, I do want to really apologize also. It's my fault that this meeting is on a holiday, and I apologize. I was away the 11th and the 18th, and I had no idea that we were moving it to an official holiday. So I apologize for that, but it's totally all my fault. Just so you know. Okay. Under other approvals, we have Hurley Fire Department with a Narcan program, Slate Hill Fire Department added on glucometry, and Beacon Youth and Junior Football and Baseball added on defibrillatory sites, pad sites. So all of these were sent forward, and we're moving along to the state, and all in order. And so that's all the under service upgrades. So I just want to say thank you to Dr. Felice. He has taken on the role to be the evaluation subcommittee chair and to work with us in the office here. I don't think we've had any cases, right? Nothing's been forwarded.
Not yet, but I'm waiting.
Okay, yeah. But it's, I think one of the things that's important is, that we have a succession plan, and I really appreciate you stepping up to the plate, because that's a great thing, so that we have, a setup for procedural things. So, whenever anything is of any nature that people are concerned about or want a second look at, should it rise to this level, generally we ask people to handle things at their local level with a medical director, and sometimes it doesn't work or it rises to the occasion, it needs to come to the region, then that's what we do. Okay, it's probably your favorite part of the morning. I have to do all these announcements, and there's like a million of them. Vincent DeSeglia out of Selden, New York, has been given a revocation of his license under Part 800. And it was revoked as of May 4th. Brian Torres out of Spencerport, New York. He was suspended for 1 year and placed on 3 years probation with a civil penalty of $2,000 for, again, a violation of Article 800, Part 800. Javante Osterhout out of Albany, so that's close to our area, surrendered his certificate as of August 7th, and it was related to, again, violations in that same arena. Robert Ortiz out of Brooklyn, New York, was also, there's a lot of surrendering of certificates. Surrendered his certificate as of June 1st, again for a violation of Part 800. Kyle Klein out of Syracuse was placed on probation, issued a formal reprimand, assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for violations of Part 800. I know, right? They're collecting. Brian Fernandez out of Bronx, New York, assessed a civil penalty of $1,000. His probation is placed for 3 years for violations of Article 800. This is interesting. College Point Community Ambulance Corps out of College Point, New York. Their operating certificate was surrendered June 7th. I've never seen one of these for public health violations. Alrighty then. Sean Woods out of Star Lake, New York, was suspended for 1 year, placed on probation for 3 years, assessed a civil penalty of $2,000 for Article 800 violations. Francisco Garcia out of Shirley, New York, had his certificate revoked June 7th, again for violations under the same Article 800. And Danielle Winters out of Hopewell Junction, so that's in our neck of the woods, suspended for 1 year, effective April 25th. Did you guys look this one up? So I'll give it to you.
I'm sure Karen did, I did.
Okay. And for multiple violations of multiple parts of Article 100. That's the end of those. But
Apologies. What is Article 800?
I was gonna ask.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you. How do I never violate it?
so it's New York State law, and what it does is govern all of EMS. But there's a bazillion. Like this woman had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so many subsections. So it's NYCRR. So New York
Rules and regulations.
Code of Rules and
Oh.
Regulations.
Okay.
So they can do things like, not have satisfied their records, not have kept up their registration. They can do some bad things too.
There's an entire section on required conduct for the emergency medical technicians, so certified EMS providers who fail to meet those requirements can be issued a violation and be fined.
Yeah, so this is not a specific regulation that everyone is trespassing against, this is broad.
No, yeah. it's
Okay.
very-
And it has like a million subsections.
Okay.
Like I'm not reading all the stuff on here because you'd fall asleep. But it's really the standards that everybody has to abide by. Certain rules and regulations that you have to do all your certifications, do everything, and abide by. All the.
What's on the truck is covered. So if your suction unit doesn't work, that's a Part 800 violation.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
If your
that-
truck is dirty.
That's the first time I've seen an organization though.
No, they've fed several, actually. If you go onto the disciplinary website for the state, you can actually see various agencies that have been violated. Several, I think the largest one I've seen on there was something like $15,000 for a fire department out of Long Island.
Yeah, I just never seen a certificate removed from an agency before.
That I haven't either.
Yeah, that's the first one. I've been reading these things a lot. All right. Yeah, so don't worry, Dr. Murphy, because you're good.
One time it might be worthwhile to just dissect one of these cases, just to get an idea of what.
Well, this one was
involved.
this woman from Hopewell Junction. I've never seen so many violations. I mean, I think it's like, because usually it's one.
Yeah.
Usually it's one thing that they list there. She's got 7.
The
Yeah,
problem with it lists the violations, but there's nothing specific.
Right.
It could be, you know, part of, you know, controlled substance thing. It could be something as
Yeah,
simple as.
generally they'll say that on there though, when it's controlled substance, it'll add that part on.
Did they not sign it or do a proper handoff, or is
Yeah.
it something as extreme as they were taking it, replacing with water?
Yeah.
We'll never know what it actually was because we wouldn't have the case.
Yeah, they don't give us those details. I've never gone on the website though, maybe stuff like that's on there.
Yeah, I pull it up every once in a while for orientation so people understand the severity of
The code.
It's
the
pretty much what
implications
they
of not
list
doing your
here.
job right.
Okay.
Yeah, if ever there's any teaching points, doing an anonymous morbidity and mortality over this kind of, you know, post-mortem, so we can take it all back, just so that other people don't make the same mistake.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that it is, like Eric said, some of the stuff is really silly.
Yeah.
Like how clean is your outside of your ambulance?
I don't think they fine you $2,000 for that.
No.
They want you for something else.
Yeah, no, where you saw, because we don't see a lot of fines either. I was listing fines there. We don't see a lot of fines. That was quite a few fines. But it did span since our last meeting in June,
And
so.
there's a lot of revocations there, which you normally don't see a lot of.
Yeah, yeah, they're certificates. Okay, helicopter committee report. You guys talked about the response to the MCI. Do you want to add anything else, or you're good?
No, one of the things, unless anyone else has something to report, the rest of the last, you know, period from the summer was, you know, pretty straightforward, okay? But, you know, one of the things is prepared, I don't have a whole lot of copies, but this is a breakdown. People are certainly welcome to look at it. Sort of, you got to kind of share here of the stats from the last quarter. And it's got some, you know, where everyone went, what kind of call it was, and also some other interesting facts, like whether this was whether there was an RSI or advanced airway procedure, whether there was TXA used, or whether this was involving some kind of fancy medical intervention, a balloon pump, that kind of stuff. So anyway, people are welcome to look at that. That's basically our report.
I like that. It segues into RTAC. Was there an RTAC meeting?
So there's been no RTAC meeting. There was an RTAC presentation, or blanking on the word.
Conference or?
What?
Conference?
Conference.
Something like that.
It was a great conference. And I don't know if folks were in attendance there, but kind of went through just sort of an update of the approach to trauma. Certainly included the pre-hospital care stuff. The main sort of speaker and presenter was the head of Maryland Shock Trauma. And so those are some good, interesting things. One thing the gentleman from Shock Trauma, who was a former resident at, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Who was a former resident, a surgical resident at Westchester Medical Center while I was there. He was saying that he thought artificial blood was right around the corner. Which there's been a lot of research being done both in Europe and here, but I think that certainly could transform a lot of our, certainly our trauma care. But anyway, good conference, and as of right now, there is no scheduled meeting for RTAC as of now, so I don't have a date to give you.
So that would probably help out in the quagmire of documentation and regulation and paperwork to be able to transport blood.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what the substance would be, whether it's, you have to type in crossword, I doubt it, all those kind of things. This is just sort of a universal product, but he didn't go into it in detail, but I just thought,
Interesting.
He's
Yeah.
kind of at the cutting edge of trauma, and this was what he put forward.
I've always thought it's coming around the corner like every 2 years for the last like 20 years.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. But there's a population of Jehovah's Witnesses and people that don't accept blood transfusions and we really look forward to something artificial.
Sure.
So, that infusion technology.
Yeah.
All right. Quality improvement report. Jeff.
Okay, I'm not going to belabor the issue of data transmission. That's been an ongoing problem for the last several years. The vendors and the state are working on it, and that is sufficient for that. What I would like to highlight is the charts that we're getting from the iGel program itself, and they are statewide. And we have had several instances of ROSC being achieved prior to ALS arrival, usually in conjunction not only with the iGel, but with a Lucas or equivalent device. This is really something pretty decent that we're seeing. Also, the level of documentation is really, really pretty good from what I have reviewed. And there have been some that have been, I can't figure out who actually placed the iGel because it's a mixed crew. So we have gone back to those program agencies who will then kind of beat on the agencies a little bit to make sure that it's a little bit better documented. We can see that the procedure has been done, but sometimes it's unclear who did it. And one of the problems is not so much how the provider has charted it, but if you're going from an ESO platform to the New York State Image Trend Bridge, there are some mapping issues. So some of that is lost literally in translation. So it's a little bit harder to discern. But the documentation itself has really been good. I know we've had one agency mammocating with 2 ROSCs prior to ALS. So these folks are aggressive, they're doing the job well, and patients are benefiting from it.
Anybody had any untoward patients brought in with a iGel? I've not heard of any. Okay.
I have seen a couple of instances where the iGel was not placed correctly, identified, removed, and reinserted. So obviously the training has really taken hold, and the folks are understanding it and using it appropriately.
It must be that discussion of how you put them in.
Something like that.
Who sponsored that?
Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Protocol committee, Mike's not here this morning, he couldn't be. So he sent a couple of notes over. Some of it we've already talked about. We still really haven't received a good answer from the state regarding medication shortages, because it's like back and forth. The Bureau, we brought it to CMAC multiple times in like a year ago. And then, we were like, these changes occur so frequently, we were trying to just kind of simplify it and put things into medication classification so that we could just, use alternative meds as they arise. But there's no official word yet. We'll continue to wait for a formal reply. We've been working with collaborative committee. David wrote an amazing development of a policy about hospice care and how we can integrate that into the system. I'm working with Jeremy on traumatic brain injury and such, and we are having Rich Wiley, who came back to our area from flight, and he's working on revamping the rapid sequence intubation or medically facilitated intubation. You guys were working on the protocol exam. It's going to be collaborated with Westchester in an electronic platform. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else there.
We're also looking at that from the collaborative group to see if maybe we just create a collaborative
Yeah, it'd be
protocol
nice to just
exam.
it be in the same.
Yeah.
And then people, doesn't matter if you cross borders or go to a different region, you could have the same exam and be, really get true facilitation and reconciliation for taking it in another area. Bill, did you have anything you wanted to talk about with treatment protocols? Oh, yeah, you had the,
3 advisories under new business.
yeah. So the, one of the things that, Bill went through and it looked at is, we have, as you know, in some of the protocols, it says if equipped and trained. Bill went through all of the, policies to see where we had this. And so we sent out an advisory, to demonstrate what they were. And under, you know, if you look at them for the Hudson Valley region, we had 7 areas that they came under. And it was really mainly drugs, ketamine, Haldol, etomidate, Toradol, Zofran or densitron, nitrous oxide, and antipyretics. And so it's really so that people understand that we're looking at that, you know, these medications are there and you're going to be able to use them, but it's not really required, but it's, I think, if you're equipped and trained and have it available. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yep, that's fine. So,
We sent out another advisory. They have a rubber stamp for Mark's and my name, so watch out. No, it's a joke, we know. Under September, that's very interesting, you sent it September 11th. TXA, you know, we're adding it to, from the TAC, the Hudson Valley Regional RTAC, and in collaboration with Westchester, we're adding TXA to the armamentarium that people can use. The one process here is, you know, that the receiving hospital must realize that you gave TXA and that we establish that they're able to continue the TXA. And it should be, you know, level 1 or 2 trauma center, because not every hospital will have it. So it's really a communication thing, but we, through collaboration with RTAC, want to promote it, and you know, wanted to make sure we had it available. I think you guys in flight probably use it more than anybody. Any other comments? And so we put an advisory out there so everyone realizes what's happening.
Yeah, we've had some in Westchester County adopt it and, you know, have a TXA protocol. But, you know, one of the things we found is that, you know, most of our transports are not that long. So by the time you know, set that up and so on and so forth, it's probably not worth your effort or time. But certainly for the Hudson Valley, it is, so.
So one of the things also that came out was, you know, over the years, many forms of the policies and protocols have had in there, you know, a list of equipment that's required, medications that are required, and PAR levels, you know, that you had to have. So what we've tried to do is look at this and say, do we need to define that inventory for people, or can we just make sure they keep a specific PAR that they need to be functional, to be able to use the equipment and materials. So we've kind of removed, and it's in draft form. Was it included in all their packets?
yes.
So everybody should have seen a copy of this, and it's in draft form. We definitely want feedback. So we're removing PAR levels so that people will have what they feel is the right amount. And when it talks about, you know, ALS gear to have a minimum, so that, you know, minimum amount of medication, supplies, and equipment to meet the collaborative treatment protocol standards effectively to treat one patient. And so that each person that, you know, each practitioner will receive this in service to do equipment checks, to look at all their materials, to look at all their goods, and shall keep a record of that process, checking your equipment and your materials before you move out on a shift. And we talked about, you know, some of these things, you know, just being really governed by, the equipment by the manufacturer, by the recommendations from the supplier, and so that we will follow those. But we wanted to make sure that, we didn't have these, we used to say, X number of ambu bags, X number of, size 7.0 ET tubes. We're trying to get away from all of that and just say, we want you to, be able to have the right amount to take care of your patients. What do you guys feel about that? Any comments, concerns? Again, the draft policy's in your packet so you can look at it and definitely feed back information to us, but it was really to streamline the process and make it more identifiable and easier to follow, I think. Anything to add, David?
No, we just wanted to actually follow the protocol so that we didn't have to keep rewriting what we had to have out there. And so if
Yeah.
we're following the collaborative protocols, you need what you need to follow them.
And by yeah, and just, giving people the leeway of, just keeping tabs on what you have in your agency. So I missed CMAC too. So my vacation was very well timed. I missed CMAC. We had to move REMAC. So under CMAC there was a ton of stuff done. I have a few little highlights here. We're definitely, the collaboratives were working through some of the changes as I talked about. We hope that all of this, the changes that have occurred will be introduced in January. Dr. Winslow is working on, proposing and updating the medication formulary, and, working with the Bureau through this, both from a perspective of current medications, approved alternatives, and so anything else that we would need in terms of a medication shortage. So we're hoping that's gonna come soon. NEMSIS will come out soon. Did you wanna talk about it, David, or it's enough just to mention?
With any luck, and also based on Jeff's remarks, it will vastly improve data flow of what people document, how they document, where that documentation goes and how. And right now, there's the NEMSIS values that everybody has to capture, key points in their documentation. If every state adds another layer of things that they want to add on that as what's called a mask or a schematron, and it's additional documentation points. Most states have around 200 other key areas that they had. New York State had almost 1,000 extra ones, and it was causing a lot of failures and transmission errors and all that sort of thing. One of the great things is that the director of the state, Ryan Greenberg, also works on an ambulance, and he couldn't lock his chart in the middle of the night one night, and so he reached out to the data guy and was like, I can't lock this damn chart, this is stupid. And so we now have some of the masks turned off and waiting towards the movement to the next NEMSIS, which should be out. Agencies that are compliant can start in November, otherwise it will start in January, be completely rolled out by July. And that should vastly improve capturing data and data movement from the agency to hospitals, to the state, and to the regional program agencies. And that's probably the easiest way to describe how that was going to go.
Did they just cut down what was in this scheme?
So there were a lot of things that they put in there for quality, for doing quality, ensuring quality before the chart ever gets locked. And so like 2 sets of vital signs or, those kinds of things. And they're like, that's an agency's job. Take it out of this documentation process.
I think that's where a lot of the
Yep.
duplication was. It was silly
Right.
that it was there.
Yep. And so that's where a lot of these things came out.
All right, thanks, David. So the last thing was, so glucometry and glucose administration was out of the scope of practice of a certified first responder. So they removed it from their protocols for CFRs. So that was a change. I didn't know that. I thought they could as a certified first responder. But I guess it's not in their scope of practice.
You'll have to ask the patient at home to do their own glucometry.
Yeah. Can you do a finger stick for me? Yeah. Because that's where it all kind of came from. We're like, they do their finger sticks anyways.
They're really trying to keep things and the protocols and the scope of practice for education, so that there aren't things that go way out of bounds. So we're just gonna blow that out of the water with the IGEL program, but that's it.
Yeah, well, it's also a pilot, so, you know,
That's right.
hopefully things are gonna move in a direction to, you know, improve. And look at the response it received. They have to recognize and look at that and say, these guys are hungry to do other things and to be involved and to really help resuscitate a patient. We need to further that response.
And it's working, so that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Do we need to talk about this, article and everything that was sent forward from, you know, the thing about bypassing a stroke center?
I don't know, that came up from this woman, I don't know if she was gonna be here or not.
You know, I read that though, and the article, as I understand it, is about intracranial hemorrhage patients not
Well,
doing as well.
yeah. Well, but maybe we should introduce it formally then.
Yeah.
Let's have a discussion
Have
about
a
it.
small discussion about it in front of everybody without knowing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a criticism of the, there was a study that came out, I forget what it was called.
I think it's on this one.
It was done in Spain.
Yeah, it's effective bypassing the closest stroke center in patients with intracerebral hemorrhage, a secondary analysis of RACE-CAT, a randomized clinical trial done in Catalonia, Spain.
So what they were looking at was the, basically what we do, which is the endovascular diversion program, you know, for patients that were in the suburbs or outside of in the rural areas, were getting diverted. And they were looking at the efficacy, and they concluded that there really wasn't a benefit to diversion, but that the patients that had intracranial hemorrhages, a small subset, did worse. It really doesn't have any, like, sort of import, I think, to our program in the sense that, you know, we're doing this for ischemic strokes.
Yeah, did they do worse for being diverted to the stroke center, or did they do worse for going to?
They
close-
did
Going
worse.
far out.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
no,
did
could
worse
be
for
diverted.
being diverted.
Because it was a much longer transit time.
Yeah, and especially in the age of Eliquis and all these other.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
kind of
no
reversal
longer
thing we
novel
could
anticoag-
put in
yeah,
place,
things
yeah.
we can reverse, yeah.
So it was brought up as a criticism of our program to suggest that maybe we should stop doing it, endovascular diversion for ischemic strokes. But I really don't think that the study itself, and we could send it out, has enough weight to really change our practice
What's
at
the
present.
external validity of a study from Spain where their healthcare system's totally different than ours? They
Yeah.
don't even have emergency medicine in Spain.
Yeah, so,
As a
yeah,
specialty.
this, Michelle Muldoon is the one that, you know, sent it to us and wanted us to look at it and said, you know, the effect of bypassing the closest facilities. So I kind of,
My understanding was a neurologist handed her this thing and said, hey, you know,
what are you guys doing?
what are you guys doing, and why aren't, you know, I mean, I think it was just they were a primary stroke center and they felt they were getting bypassed. And here they had this very, what I felt was a pretty weak argument for why we should abandon, you know, our evaluation by pre-hospital care folks based on the protocol we've laid out for them. And so, because we were going to, out of this large, you know, fairly large study, there were a handful of intracranial hemorrhages that they felt weren't going to do so well. And I kind of questioned, well, any of us who have worked, any of us who have worked in the emergency department anywhere can testify how easy it is to get a neurosurgeon in to your small community hospital to do anything about anyone's intracranial hemorrhage.
No intervention necessary.
Yeah, right. So, you know, and never mind, yeah, no, I understand the,
Did I
you know, the.
pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I understand, yes, you could start, you know, some of the reversing agents, but that usually has to be in conjunction with a neurosurgeon and a good neurological team, and I just don't think that that's there in place. So I don't know if we want to formally answer this, or.
I mean, I just think we could tell her we're in support of what we're doing. I mean, this is not gonna change our practice.
We've carefully reviewed the article, we find it very interesting, it doesn't approximate to what we're doing at this time, but thank you for your input.
Remember that comment.
And at some point, it may be worth revisiting it
Yeah.
if other studies come out,
More
but
data comes out.
at present, the other thing I don't really, I didn't glean from it was what their time frame was, you know, like we have a 30-minute, if it's gonna
Right,
be more than
right,
30
right,
minutes,
right.
what is-
I didn't
are they 2 hours?
I didn't see one in there, actually,
Yeah,
to be
right.
honest with you.
Anyway,
Okay, open forum. Anything anybody wants to bring forward?
The Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health, the Health Department, has grant money, and they wanted to start initiating a leave behind overdose kits. They actually started it, we kinda told them time out because are we authorized as EMS providers to be leaving medications behind without being granted that permission from the REMAC?
I would think it would have to come from your medical director, right? Because, again,
Well, it's a countywide program.
yeah, but they've also not said we have the ability to stop anybody from anything if the medical director signs off on it from.
We've also pushed this up to the state and talked to Ryan Greenberg.
What did he
because
say?
Yeah.
The Remo region has been doing this since 2019. And he's like, he thought it was a good idea if it went up to the state, so it's put across the whole entire state, so every,
Kind of gets a dispensation from the Pope
instead
that you
of
can do
going
it.
to each region asking for permission to have this, he was going to bring it up at the state level, but I asked, and I guess it wasn't brought up at this month's meeting. So I'll send him a reminder email. So it's approved throughout the state through an advisory, but we wanted to see, especially Dutchess, to see if we could get it going, at least for the Hudson Valley. I know there are places that are doing it and they're going under, well, you know, if they tell us no, we'll ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And my response to that is I'm not gonna put the providers in Dutchess County in that position. I'm gonna see if we're allowed to do it, get it approved, and then we can start dispensing it.
Well, I mean, people can go and get it on their own too. I mean, they're giving it to family members and to loved ones of people that have had an overdose.
There's a mandate, if you go to a pharmacy, you can request it without a prescription, and the pharmacy provides it, right?
Yeah.
you're
So, yeah, I agree with you though. I never want to put anybody in a position of, that anybody could go after them. So, you know, I don't know if you guys want to vote on it from our region. Do we feel comfortable with people leaving behind the safety packs? I'm okay with it.
Yeah, these are the packs with the nasal atomizer, you're not leaving them like an injectable.
No, it's all nasal.
Yeah, yeah.
4 syringes.
Yeah.
Box of
There's 2 vials of Narcan.
But yeah, so yeah, it's not a needle exchange program or anything like that.
No, it's just strictly
nasal
nasal
atomizer.
Narcan. And the reason why Dutchess is pushing it, they've got a substantial grant money. They're also going to be putting out, I can't believe I'm saying this, the Narcan dispensing vending machines in the city of Poughkeepsie.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
What do they look like? A Coke machine? No pun intended.
I guess it
That's good.
Nice.
They're looking
I caught
at
myself
the
after I
the
said
vending
that.
machines. I don't know what they're gonna get, but that's
Interesting.
another step that they're looking.
I don't think I've seen one of those.
Some other product.
Yeah, right. So I'll put forward a motion, with the Hudson Valley REMAC, wanna sponsor and provide support to, any area, county, or, local REMSCO that wants to provide, leave-at-home packs, safety packs with, nasal Narcan included. Anybody? Second? All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, there you go.
Dr. Murphy, we're not tackling the issue of addiction, we're just putting a Band-Aid.
Yeah.
We're not, our society is not
Well,
improving.
it's interesting that it's coming under, also, did you notice when he said BHU? I'm like, they need to do some work for behavioral health in this area, way above and beyond Narcan addiction.
Well, I
I mean-
believe in part of, because Dutchess County is gonna be providing the kits, the EMS providers, I believe in that kit is actually a card for them to reach out to the Dutchess County
Hotline.
if they wanna sit here and get the help.
I mean,
Even
it's,
in the
it's
Remo,
trash.
It's tragic.
Advisory that they put out said this is not a cure to the
We're not-
opioid overdose.
Yeah,
We're
no,
just encouraging them to continue that behavior.
yeah, no, I totally
But,
believe you.
in addition, sometimes there's inadvertent exposures too. Remember the kids in the Bronx?
I understand.
Yeah, especially as we get to Halloween, fentanyl adulteration, kids getting into things. It's not the worst.
The other thing also makes, stop a response because they can give Narcan instead of having to call 911 if they ever readily available.
That's a possibility too.
Well, also to be covert about it and not, let anybody know. But they are definitely giving it to parents and siblings and family members of people that have had overdoses. I just, since I was on vacation, I watched, what is the name? It was the Pain Relievers? No, Pain, it's the movie about the oxycodone and Purdue Frederick,
Yeah.
the Slacker family, Sackler family,
Sackler.
Sackler family. I went to medical school with one of them, so it's pretty interesting.
There's a Sackler Medical School.
Yeah, oh no, there's so many Sackler things. So it went into a lot about, the whole oxycodone and the process there, and just, we have an abysmal problem in this country all the way around. But from behavioral health, I don't know if you guys, we've had to go on diversion of behavioral health because we have 30 BHU patients sitting in the, between the emergency department and upstairs, and we're trying to put them anywhere we possibly can.
Putnam Hospital's on behavioral health diversion right now.
Yeah, it's crazy, the number that are presenting.
We never go on diversion, but we've had 27 psych holds in our
Well,
ED.
I speak to Mike a lot,
Last couple weeks.
and so the Saturday before last, they had 35 in Albany sitting there, and they just didn't know what to do.
Well, Mark, you had a whole entire building got sent over to you.
Yeah,
In Dutchess County, we
When they
actually, the
closed
state
that one.
came in and closed an adult care facility for the,
with no plan.
See,
they
and
just
so
send them
that's
all
what
to us.
kills me, right? Because, you had Cornwall close, you had Bon Secours go down in numbers, so in our county, it's like horrible. They're talking about removing the adolescent and peds program at Rockland Psych. I don't know if you guys know that, this has been in conversation. But it's like, they've got to keep these places open. So, all right, anything else under open forum now that I've made it such a nice environment here?
Since I have a captive audience, I'd just like to give you guys a 10,000-foot view. For those of you that don't know me, I'm David Grass. I'm the president of the REMSCO here in the Hudson Valley. At the last REMSCO meeting, we introduced, got an overwhelming response to, and I'm just pushing this out to the physicians inside the room so that you can start whispering in your administrators' ears. Obviously, there's a personnel crisis in the Hudson Valley, across New York State and across most of the country. One of the things that we tasked the REMSCO with doing, and they jumped on it both feet in without looking, is to develop some kind of social media posts that we can use across the board, across 6 counties, to recruit and retain EMS providers. So everything from TikTok videos to Channel 12 news advertisements, wherever they're gonna go. They are in their infancy. They literally formed their committee on last Wednesday. They're going to meet over the course of the next couple of months, put together a chairperson, put together an agenda, and present it back in December. The reason that I just wanted to put it across to you is so that you could start to realize that people are probably gonna reach out to your hospitals for not only logistical, but more importantly, financial support to be able to get these things done. But the logistical side, if you have a media development program that is already targeting that or going after it, it seems to be the way of the future. We had the privilege, Putnam County brought up their video that Mr. Cuomo and company produced a little over 25 years ago. Unfortunately, it may have been a bad omen because it was a simulated school bus accident, and the next morning we experienced the
Just that.
bus accident in Orange County. But more importantly, it's real, it's today, and we're looking for different ways to be able to grab the attention of the people that would be coming into this. So any suggestions you have as they reach out to you or to your organizations would be greatly appreciated. Again, the only way that we're going to survive this is to figure out how to do something different than what we've done in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to be, how do we get those younger people in crew? Everybody's been in schools, not a lot of avail. Everybody's tried little advertisements, but if we can get something that's universal across Orange County, all the way through the Hudson Valley, our hopes is that it'll take off and even the state will start to look at what we're developing and incorporate it right across the state. So, any suggestions you have for them as they reach out for you, any advice, more importantly, any support, logistically and financially, would be greatly appreciated. I know that the two EMS representatives from Mid-Hudson and Kingston were here on Wednesday night, and they've already grabbed the ears of their administrators and started that conversation, but if you could pass that along, it would be greatly appreciated. So, and I'll answer any questions if you want.
Well, I
Again,
think
not a lot of detail, because they're literally in their infancy of developing their committee and going after it, but they've got a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of great ideas right from the get-go.
I think we have to provide real, true rewards for doing it. I mean, give them something with tuition, give them something with a mortgage, give them something with some kind of benefit. I think it can't just be, you know, a pat on the back anymore. I think it has to be something that'll initiate them to want to take that path. And, you know, increase the goddamn pay. You know, it's so many things that happen, and, you know, this is a perfect example. Last Thursday, what happened? We would have been nowhere if those pre-hospital providers hadn't shown up to that scene and started the whole process. So I think,
to your point, Dr. Murphy, we want to make sure that we're not just going after career agencies. I mean, this is everything from volunteer organizations to hybrid organizations to municipal to,
But you can tax deductions,
proprietary.
you know,
Well,
like there
we
are
want
ways of
everybody
getting
to-
volunteers.
One thing that we were successful at pushing through in Westchester is, and we got, from the county government, we got $500,000 for scholarship.
yeah, so stuff
So
like that would be.
$5,000 if you go as a scholarship, 5 or 6,000, I can't remember, if you go into you know, a paramedic program. And it's been quite successful. The money has been taken and has been used. A lot of people have enrolled, especially at Westchester Community College, which has a program. You know, we'll see what the payoff is. You know, it's going to be a couple of years down the line whether these people stay, you know, but that was sort of our approach to it. And we were able to, like I said, get $500,000 out of the county government.
Excellent. Well, one thing that we've identified is that we're not going to wait for the federal government or the state to fix this.
Yeah.
If we don't grow it from right here in the Hudson Valley, it's not coming from anywhere.
Maybe this is
So-
a good time, though, to hit Orange County executive there, because of what just happened last
Exactly.
Thursday.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
for everyone. I
And
mean, it's these kinds of things that push it. If you can get maybe someone who was connected to that accident, although those people were not from this area.
Yeah, they're from
So that's the
Suffolk County.
problem, you know, if you can get, you know, it's like, that's what demonstrates our value to society. I mean, you know, it's like, man, you know, you call that 911, you expect stuff to happen, and it's not going to unless we have folks to respond. I mean, even, you know, look, even this committee here, I mean, the REMAC, and folks coming year after year and guiding this thing makes sure that kind of stuff happens. And, you know, it's like, whatever, we're essentially all volunteers doing this. But we've got to get you know, and yes, some of us are provided, you know, from our hospitals or organizations, but the rank and file EMT, the rank and file paramedic is getting nothing.
And that's what I'd like to see changed. I
Yeah.
mean, I thought, you know, it was the first time that Hochul had put anything even in their budget. So I thought something was gonna come out of that, so we'll see what happens, but, you know, there was $1 billion supposedly allotted to behavioral health treatment in this state too, that they were gonna put forth, so, I don't know. We have a lot of work to do, I'll tell you that, in this state. Okay, I have nothing further. Anything else from anybody?
I have one other thing, and Jeff and I were talking about it last week. It's a very old advisory that seems to have come out that agencies aren't aware of, that even though New York State does allow ALS providers to do V&T blood draws, that the Hudson Valley region came out in 2002 and did not support it. Can we send that advisory back out to remind the agencies?
Yeah, I mean, the discussion there came because we felt that we didn't want to put y'all in that position. That if they wanted it to be done, then they bring the patient to the emergency department and get it done in a formal way with the formal process to collect a specimen for, you know, investigation and for, what's the word when you're getting evidence? Evidentiary process. But that's where that came from.
In the last 3 months in Dutchess, 2 calls for a 911 ambulance to go to a police agency to do blood draws.
Yeah, that's not proper use.
It's weird.
We can resurface that and send it back out.
Because they come to us to get it still, all the time.
I met with the one that, because there's an ambulance right in the same building, and discussed it with them and provided and they're like, 2002, I guess they haven't revoked it.
No, it was something we were firmly entrenched about, because we felt that wasn't your job, and it wasn't, there's better utilization of the resources, limited resources we have, than having you draw a blood sample for the police.
Yeah, usually the police bring the patient directly to the emergency department.
That's what, yeah, but we had, the reason why this came up was, agencies were being, actually demanded by, it was, New York State Police, I believe, at the time, right? If my memory serves me, demanding them to do the blood draw, and we felt they were in a awkward position and not in a position we wanted them to be in, so that's why we put out the advisory, and we sent it to all the agencies for law enforcement. Sure, we'll recirculate.
I have 2 items.
Sure.
Just sort of asking out there, if people found that folks in the field are using, or those of us who are medical controlled, are using the Murrow app, are people using it? Seem to be using it, yeah, okay. And the other thing is one of the things that's happening in Westchester was we actually tried to have a meeting but didn't have a quorum to vote on a pilot program for community paramedicine and expanding their formulary to actually include antibiotics. So, you know, something that's being done around the country in a variety of forms. This would not be, you know, like to treat sepsis, you know, as a field call to treat sepsis. There are protocols out there around the country to do that. But this is more community paramedicine where the paramedics are going to the home under direct online supervision, and usually with a direct, you know, whatever Zoom interaction, telemedicine interaction, and then with the advice to start a antibiotic. So anyway, we'll see. We didn't have a quorum to vote on it, but anyway, that's sort of out there.
All right. Next meeting is November 6th. I promise I'm not changing it. And can I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, did you want to say something?
Yes, real quick.
Yeah.
If I may. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Brandon Smith. I'm a paramedic CIC out of Rockland County. Today I'm representing my home agency, Spring Hill, and on behalf of the membership and the officers, I'd like to thank the committee this morning for unanimous vote on operating their service. So thank you guys for
You bet.
The more the better. All right, motion to adjourn. Okay, second. Thank you, everyone. And I appreciate everybody's time. I know it's valuable, but I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you.